Welcome to the Health Stuff You Need to Know podcast. Information you need to thrive in our toxic modern world. I'm your host, Scott W. Kirkland. I hope you're ready because it is go time with the Wellness Web. Yeah! Today's guest is Catalin Yardley. She is a medical herbalist and a member of the National Institute of Medical Herbalists, currently in a private practice in Vancouver and Port Moody, BC, in Canada, and offers online consultations throughout North America. She has been employed in the holistic health field since 1993, with clinical experience since 1995. Her personal interest in health lies with the emotional connection to wellness and dis-ease. She specializes in women's health issues, skin disease, digestive and nervous system disorders, and believes in providing usable tools for healing through inspiration and education. All right, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Scott. I'm really excited to be here and to talk about the options that herbal medicine can provide people.
Fantastic. Maybe you can give us a bit of a background, because I don't think that many people know that much about herbalism, really. I think most people in the Western world are familiar with the allopathic physician. So that's your standard doctor you go to. They give you a prescription and you go to the pharmacy and you get it filled. So how is herbalism different?
Well, herbalists have been around for centuries. Herbal medicine is the primary form of medicine that is used worldwide, and it's probably one of the oldest forms of medicine that has been used throughout our history. So really the use of plant medicine has come alongside our own generational development on this planet. A lot of the plants that are medicinal in value may also be used as foods in other cultures. If we look at burdock, for example, burdock is one of my favorite herbs. It's Arctium lapa, the Latin name, but it's known as gobo, a root vegetable in Asia and commonly used in cooking. But we could use it in the Western world as a medicine for gout and eliminating uric acid buildup. And one of the really key points that I'm passionate about instilling in people's minds when they start to think about herbal medicine is perhaps we've just forgotten the way to use these plants as medicines. We have them available as foods, or they're weeds growing outside, but we're not even familiar with how to recognize these plants, let alone what plant parts to use for medicine or how to prepare medicine for our own common ailments.
I remember one time I had an epiphany. One day I was outside and I was just floored to think that there's all these medicines that are around me just growing in the lawn. You know, they're considered to be weeds, but I go on a walk and there's California poppy, and that's very useful as an analgesic, and dandelions, you know, the common weed that's in your lawn, has so many useful things to it. Like, it's just really incredible if you have the knowledge. And,
Absolutely.
Which is great, because you are an author and you've written a book. It's called The Good Living Guide to Natural and Herbal Remedies, Simple Salves, Teas, Tinctures, and More. So I really like your book because you have so many different recipes, and it's not just about herbal preparations, but there's also some food recommendations there. I wouldn't say it's a recipe book, but there are some recipes in there for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I really wanted to create a user-friendly, easy read for people who are passionate about herbs but are not really having the experience of where to start or how to start. So there's a little bit of philosophy, there's a little bit of folklore, and there's a lot of planting seeds, so to speak, humor intended there, about how to start to use these local weeds, or sometimes even common foods medicinally for things that ail us, or really common first aid that people might go to a doctor for or use, antibiotics for an example. And so using and learning how to recognize plant medicine, knowing how to use it as medicine for common first aid, It benefits everyone. It benefits the cost of our health care. It minimizes trips and visits to the doctor's office. And it really connects us to the natural world, which I feel is an important missing piece of what is happening environmentally. We don't realize that, when we pollute the soil and the water, we end up drinking that water, and the soil grows our food. So we're all kind of in this together.
Absolutely. When I look at the world, the state of the world today, the environment in particular, we have a lot of issues that we need to address for sure. We have rapid rises of lots of different diseases. They just seem to be increasing. Like, we can't just keep going in this direction, or before you know it, everyone's going to have cancer, everyone's going to have diabetes. We have to do something to turn it around. And I can see definitely that herbalism would definitely play a big role. I wonder what you would recommend. 'Cause for me, a lot of it is detox, because we're exposed to, we got pollution in the air, we've got contaminated water, we've got contaminated soil. Like, what would you recommend for people just in their daily lives that they could do to help detox, help get rid of some of the crap that's building up in our systems?
Sure. Well, even before detoxification should be considered, maybe taking a step back and looking at what types of fuel, like how we fuel up our car, what types of food we are boosting our energy and building up our energy reserves in our body and strengthening our immune system with. Are we eating food that is from a store which has been packaged? It has a long shelf life, and it has a long list of non-medicinal or therapeutic ingredients that are chemical and full of additives and preservatives. That will do nothing to support our detoxification organs or support our immune system. So really getting back to nature, considering the question, does the food that we're eating grow from a tree or from the soil? And I remember one of my teachers many years ago kind of had humor with it and said, have you ever seen an Oreo cookie tree?
Yeah.
Getting back to whole foods and organic foods. So the number of sprays and pesticides that are used on our commercial green vegetables, those are all extra weight for our organs of elimination, our liver and kidney and colon, to try to eliminate through our bile or through our urine. And sometimes if we're over inundated with incoming toxins or contaminants, our body can't keep up with the workload. So really starting with weeding out undesirable foods and foods that have no nutritional value from our diet, looking at adding in clean water and herbal teas as nutritional support. And then, and after our diet has been really fine-tuned and we're getting loads of green leafy vegetables and all the colors of the rainbow, and fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, steamed vegetables, grilled vegetables, all the color of the rainbow, then we could look at additional support for detoxification.
Yes, you got to start. The foundation is the food. And it was Hippocrates' famous quote, let thy medicine be thy food be that medicine. It really is where it starts and where we have to start. And but I know it's a challenge for a lot of people, because a lot of these substances that we've been born and raised on, like I remember as a kid, we'd be on birthday parties that, like, it was a big treat to go to McDonald's, and we get started really young with the crap. And a lot of the substances are addictive. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any herbal help or what can be done to help break those addictions. Do you know of anything?
Yeah, so I think it all starts in childhood, and it starts with family values and families being conscious about what types of routines and habits they want to instill in their family. I remember a colleague years ago who had brought up her young girls with treats being considered dried fruit. And that was like, the girls would get so excited they'd get a dried fruit. And I do believe that the values and the habits that we instill in our families at a young age, they will return to, even if in teenage years or in their young adult years they may deviate from them, they will remember the values. And so healthy family values, healthy nutritional values will play a role. And then looking at nutritional foods or herbs that can, support the efficiency of the liver and the colon and the kidneys. These are herbs that are known as alterative herbs or blood cleansers, although they're not really cleansing the blood, but indirectly the liver is involved in filtering the blood. The majority of the blood from the abdominal region gets shunted right to the liver for filtering before it goes to other parts of the body. So there are some really great alternative herbs that can help to balance the workload of all of these incoming contaminants and our body's own metabolic wastes. And some of my favorite herbs would be nettle, burdock, as I've already mentioned, and a common weed. So we've talked about dandelion, but the root of dandelion is very, very useful for supporting liver function.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because I'm looking out my window right now and I can see dandelions. And what I should do is go out there and eat some of the leaves.
Yeah, but the challenging thing is we can't just go outside wherever we are and harvest these weeds. We have to look at what is happening in community around the weeds.
Yes.
Is it beside a roadside? Are we treating our lawn with insecticides or anti-weed sprayed? Or is there a lot of contaminants? Are we maybe downstream to a farm that might have a lot of waste material flowing into our soil? So the quality of our medicine or the quality of the herbs really does depend on the quality of the soil and contact with carbon monoxide, car fumes, and other contaminants as well. So really finding those dandelions in a pristine, clean environment or purchasing them when they've been certified organic.
Okay, yeah, that's a better option.
Yeah.
For most people, I would think, yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So is there any other herbs that you'd recommend for detox or helping the liver?
Well, one of the skills of a herbalist, rather than saying, you want to detox, take this herb, is really take a step back and look at the full lifestyle of an individual, what their diet is like, what their personality and their composition is like. Are they is their metabolism fast or is it more slow? And then looking at matching the personality of the person to a personality of the plant.
Okay.
And so I might actually choose different detoxification herbs for one person versus another.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, based on their metabolism, based on whether or not they're more constipated or maybe they have frequent urinary tract infections, or maybe they have asthma and their lungs are not eliminating waste material as efficiently. And so really frequently children who have had asthma who have had eczema as a really young child, if they get treated with corticosteroids, may end up getting asthma as they grow older. And so it's just synonymous with how the body is trying to detoxify, really supporting all of the various organ systems of the body, but it's always individual. Every individual is unique.
Oh, okay. So you work as a medical herbalist. Can you kind of explain, like, if someone was new, like they're listening to this and they're thinking, oh, okay, this is interesting. Maybe I should try this instead. Like, I'm not happy with what my doctor's doing for me. What would they expect if they were to come and visit you?
Yeah. So why don't we choose an example? Maybe common example, pain management, for example. Maybe someone is frequently experiencing migraines or headaches, and in their day-to-day life might be taking Tylenol or aspirin, maybe frequently during the week or during the month. And if they wanted to explore alternative options, visiting a herbalist in a clinic, we would look at the possible preservatives in foods that might be contributing to migraines, and make sure that anything that's being ingested that could cause migraines is being eliminated. And then we might use some antispasmodic and analgesic herbs to deal with pain. So one example might be a common herb that grows in Vancouver called feverfew or tanacetum. And it's an antispasmodic herb that is used quite well for pain management. It helps to inhibit inflammatory cytokines and prostaglandins that are inflammatory in the body. So minimizing arachidonic acid release that causes pain and spasms in the body. So one might take feverfew as a tea. It's traditionally drank as a cold tea. One might use it as a tincture. And a tincture is a really traditional form of herbal medicine where the goodness or the chemical constituents inside the herb is kind of coaxed out into the menstruum or the liquid that the herb is soaking in. And so various chemical components can come out in the liquid. The herb is strained away, and we're left with something called a tincture.
Okay, I'm familiar with tinctures. Just for my audience, it's essentially like a liquid extract. You have like a little dropper bottle. You open it up and drop it into a liquid and drink it back. And it's actually one of the easiest ways to take herbal preparations because teas can take a bit longer. I find there's a lot of herbal teas don't necessarily taste that great, but some do. And but I find tinctures are definitely the easiest, and they're arguably one of the better ways to do it because you get so many of the beneficial compounds out of the plants into the tincture, and the alcohol acts as a preservative. I don't know if I know some tinctures are preserved with glycerin.
That's right.
And so for people that don't care for alcohol, and so yeah, I find it's a great way to take herbal preparations.
Yeah, and tinctures have a wide variety of applications. They can be ingested, but they can also be used for emergency first aid or mixed into creams or salves for their medicinal properties topically. So for skin or an open wound. And so then looking at, herbal medicine for common first aid instead of maybe polysporin if a person really relies on an antibiotic ointment. There are many, many herbs that have antiseptic properties that will prevent infection and promote wound healing. So a 2-in-1 benefit for skin issues.
That's amazing. I remember one time I was reading a herbal book and read that yarrow, the plant, was actually used by the Roman soldiers back in the days of ancient Rome for serious wounds. So if they were like gashed in battle, they would, go find some yarrow around and grind it up and put it in a wound, and it actually healed them, which I thought was pretty amazing.
Yeah, one of the common names of yarrow is soldier's wort.
Oh,
and
it
was it was given the name because of the local people knew that it could stop bleeding. And we now know that yarrow is high in tannins that help to astringe tissue. They help to decrease bleeding and stop bleeding, both internally and locally. So what was known traditionally has now been proven. A lot of people really want to know about the science behind the use of herbs, and we certainly now understand a lot more about how traditional medicine has relevance in today's world.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people may not know that a lot of the pharmaceutical drugs that have been created have the base from a plant medicine. They've taken a traditional plant medicine and synthesized it and altered it or concentrated it. But that's really, the plant world is the basis for most of the original pharmaceutical drugs for sure.
Yeah, and even up to 25% of modern pharmaceutical drugs today are derived from plants. And certainly aspirin would be one of the ones that we may all have some familiarity with, but Originally, the salicylic acid was sourced from the white willow plant before it was then manufactured artificially in a laboratory. So plants have been around for a long time. They've been around in our own growth on this planet, and they have medicines that provide us with valuable healing, often without the side effects of modern pharmaceutical drugs. So it's an important option for people who might be disillusioned or may not be finding the answers to their chronic health conditions and wanting to try something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also interested because there's lots of people out there with chronic conditions that they're taking pharmaceutical drugs for, and a lot of pharmaceuticals have harmful side effects. And it seems like there's almost like a stacking, like you take a drug, it has a side effect, and then you take another drug to deal with that side effect, but then that has a side effect, and people end up on 10 medications, which is not a sustainable state of health. Like, I'm curious about in your practice when you have people come, and what are some of the common conditions that they come to see you for, and how do you help them? What do you recommend for them?
Yeah, so many people come with digestive issues, and it's been said that the health of our digestive system really is an indication of the health of the entire body. If we're not absorbing and assimilating the food and nutrients from the food that we're eating, we may be deficient in minerals. Or if we're not eliminating the food, either dealing with constipation or diarrhea, where there's dehydration associated, all of these things can cause a domino effect of health conditions. And so even something like indigestion, Crohn's, colitis, irritable bowel, digestive system complaints respond so well to herbal medicine because the herbs, if we drink them as a tea, for example, they come right in contact with the mucous membranes that are involved in assimilating nutrients and absorbing the vitamins from our food into our body. So there are pretty much herbs for every single organ system in the body, and they can be used to relieve spasms or to soothe and heal, or even to work with indigestion, for example.
Okay. So it sounds like when you give someone a herbal consultation, it sounds a lot different than going to a regular doctor. Because when I go to the regular doctor, I feel like I'm in there. It's like rush. Here's your drug. You're on your way. It sounds like you're spending a bit of time with the patient. Is that correct?
Yeah, often up to 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Consultation. So we get to know one another quite well, and it's been frequently said that when people have an opportunity to share their story, I've so often heard people say, this is the first time that anyone has ever listened to me, ever allowed me to tell my story about how I ended up where I am. And I think that communication and sharing is part of the healing journey, to be witnessed, to be encouraged to a better state of health, and then to receive the tools to get there.
Fantastic. So there's a question that I like to ask most of my guests, and it's just about everyone these days has had a health challenge. I'm wondering if you've had a health challenge, and if you'd like to share how you helped yourself. I'm assuming herbalism may have played a role in it.
Okay. Well, the example I will choose today is from a very young age. I was a very sensitive child and had food allergies and had contact dermatitis as well as dermatitis. So I suffered from eczema from a very, very young age, which kind of relieved itself. I was allergic to oranges and dairy. So when we figured that out, we took them out of my diet for a good number of years. But when I was a young adult in university and studying and being under a high stress and high workload, I developed eczema again. And I ended up in an herbalist office a good 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the concepts that they actually gifted to me, that the food that we're eating maybe fast food for a university student may not actually be the best choice of food to help our nervous system, to help with eliminating inflammation on our skin and healing dry skin. And so I embarked on a whole personal journey with skin healing herbs for eczema. And that was my first, door opening experience to herbal medicine.
Oh, wow. So that kind of led you down the path that you're on now, I presume?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. And I want to ask you if you could share a personal habit that you have that contributes to your excellent health today.
Well, there's two, I think, that I hold really dear. One is attitude. One is having faith in the unknown, having faith in a positive outcome of things, having faith that if one is experiencing a health challenge, that it may not need to be permanent, that there could be options and there could be transition. And so having faith in a process and seeking out people to support one in that process. So one's emotions, is the glass half full or half empty, being an optimist. And the second habit, which I feel is so important for people in North America, is movement, getting up and moving the body, exercising, stretching, deep breathing, running, doing yoga. Anything that moves the body will help the body's lymphatic system to help to filter out waste material and pump it out of the body. So movement and a positive attitude would be two important habits that I think have served me well.
Absolutely. It seems our lives today are so sedentary. We sit in an office for hours and hours, and then we go and sit in a car and drive for half an hour or an hour, and then we come home and then we sit on the couch for the rest of the night. This is not healthy. Yeah, we got to get out and move the body. Absolutely. That's great advice.
And we can't access our cell phones when we're running or when we're on our bike, It's kind of what do we do?
I got to unplug. I'm wondering if there's any supplements that you take, and if you do, which ones?
Yeah, most of my nutritional support personally comes from herbal medicine and good eating, but I do rely on a couple basics. I do use vitamin C with bioflavonoids every day, so I'm not speaking about the chewable, flavored, high sugar content vitamin C, but the tablets that one could take internally to help with antioxidant, connective tissue health, immune system health. So I do take a vitamin C. I also take a vitamin B complex with all of the B vitamins, including riboflavin and niacin and pantothenic acid. So all of the Bs, not just one B vitamin, not just B12, but all of them. And B vitamins are, I think, a staple in our North American society because they work with stress. They help with energy. They help with metabolism and liver function, but more specifically, they help to manage stress. And so many pharmaceutical medication deplete B vitamins. A lack of carbohydrates in our diet can cause a lack of B vitamins. Regular use of a birth control pill can deplete B vitamins in the body. So it's an essential that I feel everyone should really look into.
Oh, really? Okay. I just wanted to ask you a question about your last statement there. You said that a low-carb diet can end up in B vitamin deficiencies?
Well, carbohydrates are like from the grains, from bread products, and if we look at whole grains, many whole grains are high in B vitamins.
Oh, okay.
So it's really important, for people that are looking at a high protein, low carb diet, the ideal is not to eliminate carbohydrates. We need them for our health. We would die without B vitamins and without the nutrients that carbohydrates provide. but the answer might be perhaps choosing better quality carbohydrates. So rather than Wonder Bread, perhaps choosing whole grain like quinoa or complex brown rice as a side dish to a meal, and looking at lower amounts of the serving size.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I asked is because there's the low carb, high fat seems to be a big trend in the fitness and health world right now. So I was a little surprised. I didn't know that. So thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
And so I would like to ask you what is the good news about achieving excellent health in the world today in a herbalism's perspective?
The good news.
The good news.
Well, if I speak personally, I guess I continue to be ID'd when I go into certain certain venues. I think
Nice.
I think that good nutrition and optimal health, we people that have a really clean diet and clean living look younger. They don't age as rapidly. When there are loads of fruit and vegetables and herbal medicine use regularly, people may age less rapidly, and they may be getting a large amount of protection from more chronic or degenerative conditions. So an overall state of health may be better. The good news, optimal nutrition, and even using herbal medicine for things that ail us could minimize the impact on our liver and kidneys that many pharmaceutical medication are quite hard on our liver and kidneys. And so our organ systems are much happier. And so overall, chronic disease may be minimized or decreased.
Exactly. That's what's one of the great things I think about herbalism is that herbs are a lot more gentler on our bodies than the pharmaceuticals are in general, and they're a lot of times less expensive, and they're readily available. So that's great news.
I like to think of them as the people's medicine. We can plant seeds and grow our medicine. We can learn how to use many of these herbs as food and put them into stews or make quiches with them or support our body with herbal tea. And with a few how-to books or a few classes in medicine making, we can readily start to make our own medicine at home for common health conditions that we might be treating with allopathic medication. So certainly the cost of everything goes down.
Absolutely. And that's something we should talk a little bit about is the culinary herbs, like the everyday, like rosemary, sage, thyme, basil, holy basil, all these great herbs that you could just throw into your food every single day.
Absolutely, yeah. And these are medicinal herbs. If one has strep throat or a sore throat, grinding or chopping up rosemary and maybe putting in some sage and making a strong tea and gargling with these astringent herbs will absolutely and immediately soothe a sore throat. And if someone has a spastic cough, they might have some antiseptic and soothing properties there as well. So many of the local foods or culinary herbs are, number one, they're safe, they're accessible, you can use them in foods, you can make herbal vinegars with them that will aid digestion, or one could start to prepare them as medicines for, a cold or flu, for immune system, or for wound care or skin care. There are so many options.
That's what I love about your book. Like, it's a good reference book to have in the library. So like when something pops up, something happens, you can just go take a look and there'll be a recipe there and you're off to the races.
Thanks, Scott. It was really fun putting together the recipes, and the color photographs are ideally meant to help people identify the plants, and there are specific recipes for all of the herbs. I think there's 45 herbs in the book that talk about medicinal, culinary, and cosmetic and first aid use as
Yeah,
well.
it's very well rounded. Like you can use it for so many different things in your life. So if someone wanted to grab a copy, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so I have books at my office. So on my website at catalinyardley.com, there are books that can be ordered, or on my business website, Alchemy and Elixir Health Group. But most available to many people, Amazon.ca and Amazon.com has them available. And for people in the health food industry, Tallgrass Distributors in Canada also has the book available for sale.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show, Catalin.
Thanks, Scott. Absolutely a pleasure here too.
All righty. You have a great rest of your day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We have reached the end of this episode. I hope you have found a piece of information you can use to improve your life or the life of your loved ones with. If you feel that I've helped you in some way, I ask that you help me in return. Liking, rating, reviewing, sharing, and or subscribing all help me rise in the search engine rankings so I can reach and help even more people. Subscribing being the most important one. Thanks in advance. As always, I will continue to bring you the health stuff you need to know.